Welcome to today's story. In a tranquil Midwestern town where silence reigned supreme, my serene existence found its rhythm. Once a medic in the army, invisible scars nudged me towards the hushed realm of a first responder. The stillness of this town cloaked a brewing storm, an ephemeral illusion before reality's sharp edges pierced the veil. On a seemingly mundane morning, the shrill siren shattered the peace, propelling me into the memories I'd tried to outrun. A harrowing scene of carnage awaited our intervention, the grim dance between life and death unfolding before our eyes. My hands trembled as the cries of the injured morphed into the screams of dying soldiers from a past life. I couldn't move. As much as I tried, I couldn't move. What, in reality, were just seconds, to me felt like hours of inaction, petrified when these people needed me the most. Finally, my partner's precise actions grounded me to the present, his unwavering focus an anchor in the turbulent sea of my emotions. As we raced back with the injured, the fear of failure gnawed at my conscience, echoes of hesitation resonating through the hollow halls of my self-assurance. With each passing hour, the shadows of doubt grew longer, eclipsing the remnants of certainty within me. The unknown fate of the injured haunted my psyche, their cries for help echoing through the void. One evening beneath a brooding sky, my brother's visit was a stark reminder of the chasm between my former self and the specter I had become. His words of assurance fell on deaf ears, bitter pills I couldn't swallow. After he left, I noticed the pile of unpaid bills stacked on the kitchen table. However, something seemed strange. In the middle of all the discreted letters, a flyer advertising a revolutionary treatment for tormented minds. The irony of hope finding its way through a pile of debts wasn't lost on me. Suddenly, the ringing of the phone broke the silence of my home. A call from the hospital summoned me, its ambiguity shrouding the reason. My mind raced to the worst conclusions, the veil of uncertainty hanging ominously between the call and the impending visit. To my surprise, the mundane nature of the hospital call offered an unexpected reprieve. The news of the victim's stable recovery, with no permanent scars, felt like a cold wave crashing over a burning shore. Feelings of a second chance echoed through my conscience, and the flyer with the doctor's claims now seemed like a beacon of light amidst the thick fog of uncertainty. I decided to check it out. What's the worst that could happen? Upon reaching the doctor's abode, the rustic charm juxtaposed against modern, sterile banners created a surreal scene. Anticipation hung in the chilly air, mingling with the whispers of hope and desperation. Amongst the crowd of hopefuls, a few stuck out. There was a youngster, no more than 23 years old, glued to his phone in the corner of the room. Strangely, it seemed he was almost trying to hide behind the phone, as if the remaining people in the room were too much for him to bear. In the opposite side was young woman, frantically twitching at every unknown sound and sudden movement. With every person passing by, she would grasp her purse tighter and tighter, as if everyone else around her was after whatever its contents might be. Hovering next to the snacks was a tall gentleman that seemed enthralled with the choice of culinary delicacies available for snacking, but somehow restraining himself from trying them, the internal struggle clear in his eyes. And finally, there was Ethan. He seemed to be my age, and somehow more approachable than the rest. So I tried to strike up a conversation with him. Thankfully, I encountered a kindred spirit in Ethan, his haunted gaze mirroring my own. Grappling with the torment of dissociative identity disorder, his sudden shift in demeanor during our conversation offered a fleeting glimpse into his turbulent reality. Our tender thread of newfound companionship was abruptly severed as the doctor arrived to escort Ethan away for preliminary assessments. His practiced smile dismissed Ethan's concerns, assuring him of the groundbreaking healing that lay ahead. As I watched Ethan disappear behind the closed door, my heart echoed with his unspoken fears. Yet, the glimmer of hope ignited within me remained, a fragile flame that I vowed to nurture. The stark contrast between the warm, rustic exterior of the farmhouse and the cold, sterile treatment room sent a shiver down my spine. Reluctance burgeoned within me as I was guided onto the treatment bed, its cold leather sending another chill down my spine. My protests drowned in the sea of reassurances the doctor offered. While the doctor went to ready himself for my treatment, I couldn't help but notice an open notebook on his desk. Curiosity took the best of me, and I tried to glimpse at what perhaps would be in store for me. Alas, it was a list of patient numbers and illnesses that haunted them. Among them, some that would shed some light on my earlier observations. Social anxiety disorder, panic disorder, paranoia, binge eating disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and PTSD. At least now I know what my patient number is. Once the doctor returned with his assistant, he guided me to lay down. I was shocked to suddenly feel restraints around my wrists. As quick as the first ones, a new set bound my ankles to the bed. I began to protest and try to free myself while the doctor, with his ambiguous grin, kept reassuring me that all was according to plan. As I'm trying to wrap my head around the whole situation, a mask connected to a rubber tube descends upon my face. I try to fight it, but am unable to. I was, however, taken aback when I feel the faint smell of new shoes. As what I now realize is a sedative coursing through my veins, the world fades into oblivion, the last image being the doctor's face, a mask concealing a glint of madness. Darkness takes over. I don't know how long it lasted, but the cold embrace of consciousness felt like a rebirth into a sinister reality. The room, now bathed in the silver glow of moonlight, seemed unchanged, yet the bars on the windows screamed a silent tale of entrapment. Desperation to escape this cold, sterile prison propelled me off the bed, each step a declaration of defiance against the chains that held me captive. The ghostly silence of the hallway was an eerie ballet danced on the edge of reality. The closed doors seemed like gateways into realms unknown, the echo of my steps a haunting melody. As I ventured further, a strange silhouette emerged from the shadows ahead, blocking my way forward. Panic surged through my veins. What could it be? Its skin seemed translucent, almost transparent. It was almost like the creature was there and not at the same time. It was clear I would have to something to be able to continue my journey to the ground floor, but how could I go past this entity? Amidst the chaos, a spark of thought flickered. Light. If it was attempting to stay in the darkness, perhaps light would be its weakness. Scrambling for nearest window, pull on the drapes, bringing the whole contraption down. The moonlight bathed the whole hallway, forcing the creature to scamper away into the darkness of another room. Breathing heavily, I pushed forward. But before I could gather my thoughts, a sharp, sudden pain jolted through my arm, a reminder of a long-forgotten agony from an old injury in a battlefield far away. What was happening? How come my arm breaks seemingly out of nowhere? Pushing through the pain, I decided to proceed with my escape. The next gruesome tableau unfolded with two creatures this time. One, a tall skeletal form with a gaping maw. The other, an amalgamation of eyes and ears throughout its body and bristling with defensive spines. The realization hit me then. Could it really be? Could these be the same two people I had noticed earlier? Surely not. Yet these creatures seem to be manifestations of the inner demons of the patients in this sinister place. The young man trying make himself invisible to the room of people, suffering from social anxiety disorder. The tall gentleman with binge eating disorder. The lady with panic disorder and paranoia that kept grasping her purse tighter and tighter. What might or might not be doesn't matter now, I thought. I need to get out of here as soon as I can. With a series of quick maneuvers, I managed to trick the skeletal form that was trying to consume me into chomping the paranoid being. As it did so, its spikes protruded violently, piercing the taller entity's skull, ending the macabre dance of death. Yet victory came at a price. An old wound in my side seemed to reopen, a ghostly bullet from the past tormenting the present. I clutched the bleeding wound, each step a descent into memories I wished to forget. As I neared the stairs to the ground floor, another creature seemed to take shape ahead, and a horrifying realization chilled my spine. Ethan, now a grotesque puppet of his own fragmented mind, stood before me. His body morphed with every shifting persona, a grotesque showcase of the battle within. This confirmed my suspicions. Somehow the others were not illusions, but tormented souls lost in the abyss of their own fears. Could this be the doctor's doing? It must be. Was I suffering from the same? Was this the reason my old wounds kept reappearing? In a sort of poetic way, I do suppose that this is how PTSD manifests into a person's life. Old wounds just barely heal and reopen again. And again, not letting you fully heal and move on. A sudden grunt brought me back from my own thoughts. Here I was, facing the physical embodiment of dissociation, the mirror reflecting my own struggle against the unseen forces within. The haunted halls of the old farmhouse seemed to close in as I steadied myself for the confrontation ahead. The echo of my own demons resonated through the eerie silence. The dance with dread was far from over. The tension in the air tightened as the monstrous figure before me swayed with a sinister rhythm, its form contorting like a twisted tapestry of Ethan's shattered psyche. Each transformation brought forth a different hue of horror, but behind the monstrous visage, a glimmer of familiarity tugged at the edges of my recognition. The garbled words it spewed carried echoes of Ethan's voice, a plea for help amidst the cacophony of his fragmented mind. Bracing myself for the onslaught, I engaged in a fierce battle with the inner demons that tormented Ethan. Each attack seemed to spring from a different entity, the personalities within clashing and jostling for dominance. Nightmarish flashbacks of war-torn landscapes, screams of the dying, and the stench of blood resurfaced with haunting vividness. In the midst of the chaos, a strategy dawned on me. By provoking discord among the entities within Ethan, I could potentially unravel their fragile hold on his mind. A dangerous game of whispers ensued as I seeded doubt and confusion, pitting the identities against themselves. A moment of uncanny silence fell as the dominant persona emerged, its distorted form contorted into a hideous mockery of Ethan's true self. Eyes locked onto mine with haunting recognition, it croaked amidst a cacophony of conflicting voices. The words pierced the veil of monstrous deformity, revealing Ethan's face, twisted in torment, yet pleading for release. With a surge of resilience, I landed my final strike, shattering the discord within, silencing the cacophony of voices. Ethan's tortured form lay still, a sudden calm engulfing the hallways of my psyche. But the fight left me with profound exhaustion. The hallucinations of mutilated comrades and war cries faded away into surreal silence. I knelt beside Ethan, the reality of the battle fought bearing down like a somber weight. His eyes flickered open, a quiet gratitude reflected in them before the light dimmed out. The haunting reality of the ordeal was a bitter pill to swallow, yet within its folds, a glimmer of healing seemed to beckon. The journey through the myriad hallways of dread seemed to have etched scars on my soul, yet carved out a path to understanding the specters of my own mind. With a weary resolve, I trudged toward the unknown that awaited, the essence of Ethan's final gaze a somber companion in the solitude that enveloped the path ahead. As I raced down the stairs, my hurried footsteps were a stark contrast to the frightening silence. My heart pounded, drawn by the glimmer of escape, the promise of freedom, a sweet melody amidst the chilling symphony of uncertainty. But fate had other plans. As the doctor emerged from the shadows, his crude silhouette against the pallid lights, his words slithered through the cold air, each syllable a venomous assault on my arduous journey. He weaved a tapestry of denial, entangling me in the cobwebs of my illness, belittling my strides of resilience. His eyes, cold and unyielding, pierced the veil of newfound understanding I had garnered. Disdain dripped from his voice as he spun a narrative aimed at thrusting me back into the abyss I had clawed my way out of. But I was no longer the man who had first stepped into this sinister abode. The physical manifestation of my fears had forged a sturdier spirit within me, tempered by the crucible of internal and external battles fought. As his words morphed into a physical altercation, the bitter cold of dread that had gripped me before transformed into a fury that refused to bow to the whims of a tormentor. Our clash was a dance of despair and defiance, each strike a verse of a poem that sang of a spirit unwilling to yield. With a surge of resolve, I overpowered him, hurling him aside, his fall mirroring the crumbling shackles that had bound me. My frantic heart pounded as I lunged towards the door, my trembling fingers fumbling with the knob. As the door swung open, a brilliant light engulfed the realm, blinding yet beckoning. The engulfing brightness was a balm to the scars etched in the dark corners of my mind, a soothing cleanse to the haunting echoes that had resonated through the chambers of my psyche. As the veil of brightness dissipated, the sterile confines of the treatment room crept into view, a jarring juxtaposition to the tumultuous voyage I had just navigated. The doctor's placid smile, his eyes gleaming with enigmatic satisfaction, sent a shiver down my spine. His words of a successful treatment echoed through the room, their irony a bitter tang in the storm of emotions that coursed through me. The treatment had morphed into a harrowing journey through the sinister alleys of my fears, a brutal confrontation with the demons that lurked in the shadows of my psyche. The physical manifestations of disorders, the haunting hallways of the old farmhouse, the whispering shadows of dread, all danced in a macabre ballet as the reality of the treatment sank in. Despite the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged. His words, veiled in medical jargon, carried the essence of a hard-fought victory, a step towards healing the wounds that had festered within my mind. The hallucinogenic journey, terrifying as it was, had unshackled the chains of fear, carving a path towards acceptance and healing. The cold, sterile room now seemed to harbor a hint of warmth, a promise of a journey towards wholeness, towards a realm where the shadows of dread would be overpowered by the comforting embrace of acceptance. The storm of anxiety that had once roiled within me now carried a glimmer of hope, a whisper of newfound strength that promised to weather the storms that lay ahead. As the doors of the clinic swung open, a gentle breeze caressed my face, whispering promises of a fresh start. The world beyond the farmhouse's confines beckoned with a soft glow, the sun casting a warm golden hue on the quaint little town that had witnessed the tumult of my soul. In the mirror, I saw a face brimming with a quiet strength, eyes that held a calm resolve, ready to face the dawn of a new day, with a heart that held hope for a journey of healing that lay ahead. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you would like more stories like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. Comment down below what story you would like to hear next. See you next time.